Live. Hey, welcome back. Let me make sure to go turn this off over here. All right, we're live and welcome to today's live broadcast. Man, I am really excited because today we're going to be talking about all kind of fun stuff. And really, we're really focused on, hey, what does it take to actually build a house in Costa Rica, investing in Costa Rica, and this new secret project, well, this reality TV show. So before we get started, please put some comments there and let me know. How do you hear? Is the audio fine? And is the streaming fine? Let me know how things are looking, okay? Now, if this is your first time here and you're like, who is this bald guy and where is he at? Well, the location is secret, but I'm Alan. Been living in Costa Rica almost 9 years. Matter of fact, November will be 9 years. Been all over the place, learned a lot of stuff, and now I'm going to share it with you. So we're getting ready just to have a good time today. So if you haven't done so already, make sure to get out your apple juice, get out your popcorn, and let's have a good time. So today I'm going to actually be talking about, let's first kind of talk about this secret project that I've kind of been undercover working on for some time now. So let's talk about that. And then we'll talk about that. But look, put your questions in the comment box because I want to know what you want to know. What are your questions? Okay. So I'm kind of looking this way, the comment box. Let me adjust my camera and see if I can look straight at you. Yeah, I think that might look a little better. There you go. All right. So now, if there's anyone here that wants to go live and ask your questions live, well, there was a link in the email, and a link over in the groups. You can always go click on that link, and you can ask your questions live or join me live if you're not camera shy. I'm a little bit camera shy. I bet you could tell. Anyway, yeah, you get a couple of these. You don't have to worry about being camera shy. Salute. So today, let's talk about this secret undercover reality TV show. So I had this guy contact me. Of course, got a lot of contacts being here on the channel. Oh, by the way, let me see here. I just got to share some really super phenomenal news, okay? So let me see if I can do this. Let me see. I'm going to share my screen real quick because I got some news I just can't wait to share because I'm just really so excited to share this news. So I'm going to come right down here as I play with this new software, and I'm going to share my screen real quick, okay? Because I'm really excited to share let's see. It says share screen. Let me see if I can share this. All right, you should be seeing my screen at this point. And if you're looking at my screen right there, hey, take a look. Today we hit 10,000 subscribers, and I'm really excited about that because our channel is barely, well, it's not even 2 years old. I put up the first video on July 20th, 2020. There was the first video for this right here. And so 2 years down the road, we're now at just over 10,000 subscribers. I'm really excited about that. And hey, I really just want to thank all of you folks for subscribing, for watching the videos, hey, you've been there through thick and thin as you've watched me go through some knocks in the road, and you've been there to kind of keep pushing me on. So, hey, I just want to say thank you so very much. I'm really excited for this. I just think that is phenomenal. So anyway, I'll go back to the screen here. So I'm really excited about that. And really kudos to all of you guys for being in there with me. So really appreciate all the kind words. Now, we're on this anyway. As I was saying earlier, I had someone contact me, and at the moment they want to be anonymous. Okay, so I can't actually talk about who owns this project that we're working on or anything, but contacted me and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could just record this whole thing? And I got to thinking about it, and after talking about all of this and kind of figuring all this out and wondering whether it'd be good or not, really, I think it would just be pretty awesome. So, hey, you put a comment in there. You give me your honest opinion. Do you think this is going to be some pretty amazing information that you're going to get? Because the whole goal here is to record this the building of this house from the start to the finish. And so I've had to really think about all of this to make sure this is going to be a good fit for the channel. But really, if you're coming to Costa Rica, thinking about coming to Costa Rica, at some point in time, you're going to want to actually either buy a house, and you could buy a pre-existing house. That could have a lot of problems, but maybe it won't be. Really depends on the build. Or you're going to say, well, let me buy a piece of property and then build your own, okay? So there's really just a lot of things to take into consideration when you're thinking about investing in Costa Rica, because wow, that really takes a lot. And so while I'm actually talking about, hey, look, because I'm, if you've got questions, and so I've lined up some people, if you've got questions about building and about investing, you can actually click the link below, and you can schedule your free 20-minute phone consultation so that you can talk to a professional. So, I've been working on this deal for a couple of months and trying to make sure that I have everything in place so that as we're talking about this, I've got a way to be able to help you, because obviously I'm not the expert, but I'm going to learn a lot of stuff. Now, I have a lot of experience. I've built a couple of houses in my lifetime already. So I've got a lot of experience with building a house and building it right. However, there is still just a lot of stuff to learn when it comes to building a house. And when you're talking about Costa Rica, wow, Costa Rica takes the cake, okay? You will be amazed at all of the different things, the hoops, the red tape, the stuff that you got to jump through. But the good news is while I found a great professional that is willing to answer your questions. I found I've talked to architects, I've talked to engineers. I'm talking to the right people so that we can make sure that we give you all of the right answers, right? So the goal is to record all of this and get out as many videos as possible so you can actually follow the timeline. You can watch us as we build this. And well, you just saw day one. It was a nightmare already, okay? But that's no surprise. I often say I'm amazed but not surprised. When something happens, I have to often remind myself, well, where do you live? I live in Costa Rica. And you have to remember that Costa Rica is a third world country. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying that in a mean way, but what that really means is, and a lot of people, when they think third world country, they're thinking potbelly kids off in Ethiopia. And it's nothing like that. It just means that Costa Rica is not nearly as developed as many other countries out there, which means the infrastructure, the roads, wow, just not developed. Now, where we're building this at, well, the road is cemented all the way up there, so it's really a nice place, okay? But the majority of the places in Costa Rica, you have to remember, there are way more dirt roads than there are paved roads. And, if you're coming from any other country in the world, you probably don't want to live in San Jose. There are a few people that do. Keep in mind that if you live in the San Jose area or any touristy area, it is going to cost you a lot more. Here's just a little example. I buy a cerveza, and if I buy a liter bottle of cerveza back where I live at, it cost me about 1,500, 1,600 colones. Just a few months ago, it was only 1,300 colones, but inflation. Well, today I bought a liter bottle of cerveza, and it was 2,000 colones. So, hey, that's only 400, 500 colones difference, but that is a huge difference when you compare that. I'm just down the street. Well, I got to be careful how I say, it's different. I'm in a touristy area. In touristy areas, everything costs a lot more than where I'm at. So you do have to understand if you're going to live in the San Jose or any of that metropolitan area, because you got Escazú, you got Heredia, you got all of this right around there, it's going to be more expensive. If you live in any touristy area, whether it's touristy area like, let's say Jaco, let's say that you go on up the road, Guanacaste, well, there's Tamarindo, these major tourist areas, it's going to be more expensive. So those are things that you need to think about when it comes time to building your house. Now, money solves a multitude of issues. If you got more money than sense, I don't know if I should say that. Because I got way more sense than I got money, but I kind of wish it was the other way around sometimes. Anyway, if you've got plenty of money, then maybe that doesn't matter. However, even people that have a lot of money don't want to just blow it and waste it. And that's one of the mistakes you can make if you don't have the right team of people guiding you or helping you in the build of your property. Now, I'm looking at some of the comments and questions people are asking. Well, hey, Alan, I would like to know. I'd love to have a cost comparison. If I could have a cost comparison of, okay, this is what it's going to cost if I buy a house, and this is what it's going to cost if I build a house. I'd love to have a cost comparison, and we're going to absolutely do that. We're going to share actual cost so that you will know, what to expect. Now, obviously, things will change with inflation and prices, but at least you'll have an idea of what it could cost you depending on where you're at. And you got to keep in mind, it's all going to be kind of relevant, because if you're in a more remote area, costs are going to be a lot cheaper. Property costs, for number one, is going to be a lot cheaper. If you're going to be in a gated community, someone that's developed a property in a beautiful location with ocean views, the property is going to be astronomical in some cases. Okay. So those are all things to take into consideration. But if you're in a gated community, you got to keep in mind you're going to be paying HOA fees sometimes, not always. And you can pay some crazy HOA fees because they know that people in the United States are used to that. But in Costa Rica, it's almost insane to be paying $200 a month HOA fees. And of course, the purpose of the HOA fees is that they pay in the employees that take care of the grass and all that. But you got to keep in mind the average salary for that type of worker who's cutting grass and all that is about $500 a month. And if you're paying $200 a month and everybody else is, it's kind of insane that they got those kind of HOA fees when labor is so cheap. But you just have to understand that's part of it. So I'm trying to throw out some information for you to really be thinking about, as we talk about what we're going to try to accomplish. Okay. So let me come through here and just kind of gaze through some of these comments real quick. So as you can see on the first day, man, we're moving some dirt, and man, it is coming along way slower than I had even imagined. Okay. And I saw a comment in here. Hey, absolutely. Dirk says he's having some liquor here. That'll suffice. I agree. It will. Anyway, hey, and look, got comments in it. Says, I've got lots of questions, and I'm going to try to address every single question toward the end. And I'm going to talk about some ugly stuff too, because, we always talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Important things that you need to know about. So in case I forget, make a mental note. I want you to write it down. Alan is going to share some ugly that happened today, this morning. I got a notification. Wait, look out. I'll tell you about that a little bit later. I want to remind you about the ugly that happened to me today that caught me sidetracked and I had to fix today. Okay. So I want to tell you about that. It's important you know all of that stuff. So, I've never had an ulterior motive. My motive is to give you the information you're looking for about Costa Rica and to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And hey, look, the reality is no matter where you go in the world, you're going to have that. Unfortunately, in my opinion, Costa Rica has a lot more of the bad and the ugly, but the good far outweighs those for me. So I choose to stay. Anyway, which brings up another point. Let me take a quick look right here. Okay, so anyway, and I saw a comment here. Let's just hope that they show up, the TICO workers. And look, you're absolutely right. On day 2, they didn't even show up, and that was because day 1, you saw all of that rain. It had rained so much. It was just terribly dirty. So nobody actually showed up because it was just way too wet. And so day 2, we didn't get nothing done. And then, of course, here we got day 3, 4, 5, and I don't know that we're going to actually be able to do every single day. We're going to have to lump some together because we really, I'm just amazed at how slow sometimes things can happen. Okay, but also before it just remembered, when you come to Costa Rica, and we've always told you, I always encourage people to rent first. Rent for a little while, 6 months, a year. Honestly, it would be best for you to rent at least a year so that you can see the full seasons, because you're going to have 6 months of rain. You're going to have 6 months of the dry season, and you need to know what it's like, because here's a reality, okay? And one of the reasons I agreed to do this is because, write this down, make a mental note. You probably didn't know this, but about 80% of the people who come to Costa Rica leave within the first 2 to 3 years. Why is that? Put your comments right now. You tell me, why is it? What do you think? Why is it that 80% of every single expat that comes to Costa Rica, why do 80% end up leaving in just a short time? And when I say short time, 3 to 5 years, 8 years, why is it 80% of the people leave in such a short time? I'd like to hear your input. Do you know why? And I'm going to give you that answer. Okay. But it is, hey, big shout out to Greg. Thank you so much, who is funding my apple juice. I definitely need it too, especially after this week. So thank you so much, because look, it has been some serious wounds. Like he said, I need to nurse some wounds anyway. So, anyway, anybody got some ideas? Why do you think so many people leave? Why are so many people leave in just a few short years? Why 80% of people are leaving? Now, Doug says people leave because they can't handle the slow pace of life. Janice says, Tico, irresponsibility. Anybody else? And hey, Doug, I think you're right in some aspects. I know I almost left in the very first month of my coming here, because we moved to this little old place called Los Juntos, and they said, hey, we went to EC to go get the internet, and they said, put this piece of paper on your gate outside, and they'll be there. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I made phone calls, and I waited. Mañana. Oh, the mañana. They'll be there mañana. Mañana. And it never happened. Well, almost 3 weeks later, I was like, I got to go. These people don't do what they say. They ain't never going to show. Well, I ended up just moving and went to a place where I could get internet. So, yeah, Doug, you got a point there. That slow pace of life can drive you nuts. And it probably took me a couple of years to adjust to the slow pace, because I'm constantly moving. And Janice says, Tico, irresponsibility. I would agree, because I tell you what, and look, I'm just being completely honest. Ticos can be very friendly. I do have some really good Tico friends, but after just a short while, I hated Ticos because they never did what they said. They would never show up. They was constantly lying to me, constantly cheating me, which comes up to the next thing, which someone said, gringo pricing. Look, the gringo pricing just aggravated me to no end, because I kept getting cheated, because I'm a nice guy. And I just trusted everybody. I didn't realize I was going to get cheated so much. And so I lost thousands upon thousands of dollars being cheated. And look, I accept responsibilities. I just really thought they were going to be honest too. And I should have known better. No one told me. I wasn't doing the research you're doing. Okay. So gringo pricing is one. So the reason that most people leave Costa Rica is, well, I guess it's not one big reason, but a lot of people become very unhappy. And the reason they become very unhappy is a lot of what we just talked about, right? A lot of it is they get sick and tired of being gringo priced. They get tired of that slow pace. They get tired of all of the red tape. I mean, when you go into the bank and it takes you stinking an hour to deposit some money. And, as a gringo, as an expat, we're used to going to an ATM machine and going, dee, 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 we're done, back to the house. You know, we're used to the technology. And in Costa Rica, you don't have that technology. You know, for the first, I guess, 8 years, I never even saw an ATM machine that would accept deposits. And wow, I was shocked when, I don't know, it's probably 6 months now, I saw an ATM machine that would accept the deposits, but no one is using it. They're scared of the technology. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of things. Most people come here, they haven't done the research. They have these expectations of all of the marketing hype that you see, that Costa Rica is a beautiful paradise and you're going to be sitting on the beach drinking Mai Tais and beautiful women are going to just be fanning you and feeding you grapes. Okay, guys, wake up. That don't happen. I don't know what kind of fantasy women have, okay? Maybe it's some hunk feeding them grapes. Anyway, they bought into this marketing hype. And once you get here, the honeymoon quickly ends in about 6 months to a year, okay? So, so you've got to realize that the honeymoon's going to be over. And when you come back to reality, if you haven't done your research, if you don't have your expectations, then you're like, I'm time to leave. And that's why right now you're in a buyer's market. You've got properties for sale. You've got houses for sale, and you can get them at some pretty amazing prices. Okay. So, you know, that's the reason 80% of the people leave is they've not done the research that you're doing. And that was one of the big incentives for me to say, you know what? If I film this reality TV show and if I can give you all of the information that you want, that you need, now it's going to be important because, you know, in order for me to give you the information you need, I really need for you to actually comment, give me questions. I need you to let me know what it is that you want to know, because, hey, your comments and questions, I'm going to be using that information because I'm building a in-depth course that's going to give you everything that you need to know step by step, showing you, hey, what's the best way? How can I save money? How can I not lose money? How can I save time? So, you know, as I read some of the comments under the videos, and of course the challenge is can we do it in 90 days or less? Someone said, well, I want quality over speed. Well, we're not going to sacrifice quality. I can assure you of that. This client definitely wants a beautiful home because he's got some gorgeous views, and looked at some windows the other day. Wow. So you're going to be amazed at what this house is going to look like. But it's going to be, can I get the architect, the builder, the engineer, can I get them all on the same page? Am I able to actually schedule things? And that's all stuff that you've just really got to learn. And hey, big shout out to Janice. Thank you so much for your help and your donation, because it definitely helps. Whatever I got to get, right? It's not, I'm not really an alky, and I don't have to go to AA. Not knocking AA because it's really good. But I went to AA and I couldn't get past ABC, and that was about it. What was after C? Anyway, so thank you so much. Anyway, you know, there's so much to learn when it comes to building your house. And wow, it really starts long before you actually have to level that property. So it's coming, you know, it's actually starts with you're doing your research and you're finding the right location, because you want to keep in mind the geolocation. You know, you have to stop and think, okay, where are you located at? You're located in Costa Rica. It is a tropical climate. It is a rainforest. So 6 months out of the year, you've got 100% of humidity, and you've got all of this, you know, so you got mold to deal with. So there's really just so much that you need to learn if you're going to live in Costa Rica. Then you got 6 months out of the year that's dry, unless you decide that you're going to live on the Lemoyne side or the Caribbean side, because on the Caribbean side, that weather climate over there is completely different than it is on the Pacific side. So if you picture Costa Rica, there's some mountains that stretch all the way across the middle of it, and it really divides the climate from the Caribbean side to the Pacific side. So the Pacific side, completely different weather pattern, different people compared to the Caribbean side, totally different weather pattern. And weather pattern there comes from, you know, the weather that comes off of that water that's in between the United States and here. So it's totally different. And you get weather, you get rains over there on a more regular basis. So it's important that you understand all of those things before you decide to invest a large amount of money into buying a house, buying property, building a house, all of those things that we want to share with you, okay? Hey, Bill brings in a very good point. Bill here just put in a comment. He says, I'm a building inspector in the United States. And he says, don't forget, you're also in an earthquake zone when building. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because we were actually talking about that just the other day. And so when you are building your house, you definitely need to know, well, earthquake zone, do I build it in cement? Do I build it in wood? Do I build it in metal? You know, what's going to be the most forgiving? What's that foundation going to be like? Wow, I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because that is a lot of information that you definitely need and all the things that we need to try to put into this course that we're building and so much stuff that we need to try to cover in this 90-day challenge of can we build this house in Costa Rica in 90 days or less? So, you know, I'm going to be curious to see what it's going to take to build this house, okay? Hey, Anna asked a good question. After building this house, will you be available to build another house in the future? I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say yes. And I'm going to say it really all depends. And this does look like it's going to be fun. But I tell you what, Anna, I can probably guarantee you this. I'm going to almost say yes. I can guarantee you that if you're needing, you know, someone like me to help you on your build, count me in. I bet you I can hook you up, okay? So be sure to watch this episode in its entirety so that you can learn everything that you need to learn about all of this, okay? Hey, I'm going to take a look at some of these questions here because Lewis says, you know, for foreigners, it's very hard to adapt to the culture and how things are done and the mentality of the people. It's just natural for non-natives to feel that way. And Lewis, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to say that if I could pinpoint the number one thing or the number one reason why 80% of the people leave Costa Rica, it's because they do not understand the culture, okay? If you could understand the culture of the people in Costa Rica, it will help you to adapt a little bit better and understand why things happen the way they do. Almost everything that happens in Costa Rica, you could tie it back to, well, it happens because of the culture. Let me just give you a quick example, okay? Why is gringo pricing so bad, okay? And it's worse in the tourist area, okay? So I'm in this tourist area right now. I went and got some oil to top off the oil in my galloper, and I got the gringo price, okay? And I could have bought oil at the gas station, would have cost me about 6,000, 7,000 colones, which is really high in comparison to where I'm from, where I'm at, okay? And he said, hey, go to the little garage over there, and at the garage, you can get it cheaper. So I go to the garage, I said, okay, how much is it going to cost me? He says 5,500 colones, okay? And so great, I paid him. I go over to get my receipt. They printed out the receipt. They just really did not think I was going to look at the receipt. I looked at the receipt, and what was the actual price? 5,200. Now, look, it was only 300 colones, but come on, people. Can't you just be honest? So they charged me an extra 300 colones. Why? Why not just be honest? Well, it all goes back to the culture. The majority of the people in Costa Rica are poor. The majority, okay? Even if you're a poor guy like me, I'm still considered very rich in comparison to the Ticos, because when you understand that most Ticos, on average, stop and think about this. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask you the question. On average, what do you think most Ticos make? On average, all the general population, on average, how much money do you think they survive on a month? Okay? Put your comments in there and let me know, what do you think? What do you think the average Tico, on average, okay, that has a job, how much money is he surviving on a month? Put your comments in there. while I talk about a couple of other little things here, okay? So when you understand the culture of the people and they're poor, then you have so much money, they just figure, I want a piece of the American pie, and so they're slicing off a piece. So he sliced off an extra 300 colones of pie. You know, everywhere I go, they're going to charge a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Now, here's what I have learned. If you live in an area and they begin to recognize you, then some places will begin to give you the regular price, okay? So it's important that, you know, hey, that's just a little tip that you can understand. But it's unfortunate because they're so broke, they're constantly trying to gringo price you. They're getting a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Look, I was on the job site today. I mean, well, not today, the other day. Headed to the job site, and the dump truck is in front of me. He sees me behind him, and the dump truck pulls over, and this Tico comes out of the dump truck. And look, he wasn't thin like me. He wasn't humongous, but let me just say he was well fed, okay? And the guy comes to my window, and he says that he hasn't eaten all day, and he's talking to me, and I'm like, you know, lo siento poquito español. You know, I'm sorry, I only know a little bit. And so he's wanting me to give him some money so that he can get some food. Now, the guy looks like he's well fed. He's definitely not hungry. And I'm like, hey, hadn't your boss paid you? I won't get paid till tomorrow. I hadn't eaten all day. And but now, was that true? I kind of doubt it. But you know what? It's just part of life. They simply, when I will go somewhere and the guy is doing whatever he's got to do. As soon as he sees the gringo, he's going to come beg for money. It's just part of it, okay? Because the gringo's got too much money. I want a piece of the American pie. So let's go back to how much money does the average Tico who has a job? Hey, I'm surprised. I got some pretty decent answers in here. The average Tico, anywhere from $500 to $750 a month. Now, ask yourself, could you live on $500 to $750 a month? And look, while everything is going up, their wages aren't going up. And I heard something very interesting the other day. You know, just like when we get old and we get a retirement check or a Social Security check from the government, they get a little Social Security check from the government, and you will be shocked. I'm trying to remember how much it was, but I want to say that their pension was like 100,000 colones. And that used to equate to about $200, but now that's around $80. And that started like 20 years ago, and it's never increased. I mean, it's increased a little bit, but 20 years later, they're still getting the same 100,000 colones for their pension from the government. So if you think about that, then yeah, look, you know, if you understand the culture and you understand that family is important, they're broke, so they could care less about your time frame. They could care less about what you're doing. You know, they're not going to show up to work because guess what? It's somebody's birthday, and they're going to go to the birthday party. You know, Ticos are very friendly. They're, you know, so anyway, if you understand the culture, and so I would say the most important thing you can do coming to Costa Rica is to understand the culture. And I've got a very, very informative video. It's inside the members area because there's no way I can talk about that stuff live, but inside the members area is a great video live that I did that talks about the culture. Okay. Hey, thanks so much, Dirk, for that donation. Greatly appreciate it. So, you know, hey, Octavia asked me, hey, what kind of house is this? Is it going to be kind of like the Tico house or a gringo style house? And this will be a gringo style house. If I were to build a prefab Tico house, you'll be amazed. I could actually put that up in less than 30 days. A prefab concrete Tico house will go up just super, super fast because it's like putting together a big puzzle. Matter of fact, I've seen them go up as quick as 2 weeks. Now, you won't have much of the interior but those concrete prefab houses don't have interior, okay? So that is amazing in itself, okay? Oh, now Renee puts in here, you know, pretty much what I just said. The average local salary, middle class salary, Costa Ricans average $750. Smaller cities, monthly income's $450. Okay, so and she's absolutely right. You know, when I came to San Vito, I paid a guy that worked for me full time, and I gave him $400 a month. And that was more than he was making at the job he was currently at. So, and people that are farmers, they're living on about $250 a month. So, hey, that's just a fun fact. That's not real fun for them, but that's just a fact that interesting fact to give you. Okay. So I'm just kind of browsing through some of these questions right here. So anyway, as we progress through this next 90 days, we're going to learn so much valuable information. And your comments, your questions are going to be like huge. It's going to help out so much, because it's going to help me to be able to create this course so that down the road, you'll have all the information that you need, because it's going to be practically impossible for me to give you everything and all of the details in each of these videos. Okay. So while I'm thinking about it, I want to be sure to answer, as always, I want to try to focus on, this video that went live today, day 1. And as you can see, we had lots and lots of problems. And when I say lots of problems, from a typical TICO perspective, that was normal. That happens every single day. So it's normal to show up at the job late. Okay. A matter of fact, it's so normal. If you may not, there's a company called Recope. It's the gas company. Okay. And it's a small division of the government, and they control all of the gas that comes into Costa Rica. And they're huge. Well, Recope, because everybody shows up late, they actually were giving a pay incentive to their employees. Listen to this. If they showed up on time. Really? No way. I get a pay incentive for coming on time? I can't understand that. But if you understand the culture, they're always late. Okay. So it wouldn't surprise me. I showed up on time. Well, yeah, but you didn't show up yesterday. So, or like you on time for yesterday or for today? Anyway. So, you just have to understand the people. So, it's normal for them to show up late. So, the tractors, they showed up 2 hours late. The septic tank, when it came, it was an hour and a half late. You have breakdowns, no big deal. Even though they knew that we wanted this site for the septic tank ready for 2 o'clock, they could care less. 2 o'clock is going to come tomorrow, tonight. 2 o'clock comes twice. So you didn't specify which 2 o'clock it is, and it's ready by 2 o'clock someday. And that's about the way it works in TICO time. So you have to understand TICO time and just get used to it, because that's going to be the new norm when you come to Costa Rica. TICO time it drives me absolutely nuts. Okay. So it's just something you know about. So, hey, that day we had lots of problems. Things did not happen. And so you need to definitely learn that if you're going to build a house, definitely don't schedule 2 things at the same time. In other words, we scheduled that septic tank to be in because we just knew that by 2 o'clock it would be ready. Don't make that mistake. Make sure your lot is ready. And then, before you schedule the septic tank, so that you don't end up losing money, because in reality, we lost a lot of money on this particular day because, well, they dropped the septic tank off on the side of the road, which meant now when they come back, going to have to spend another $400, a couple of $100,000, about $400 or $500 just to have them pick that tank back up, load it up, and drop it where it belongs. So it's really important to know that. Okay. Renee here says that building costs are typically lower in Costa Rica than other parts of the world, and the land is still relatively easy to find. Building costs are generally between $55 a square meter or square foot to $115 a square foot, including everything but the appliances and the landscaping. And I don't know where Renee gets this information, but that's the end. I'm just sharing what she put in here, and that's good information, So, hey, do your research, okay? Now, Lewis says, hey, do you have to pull permits and persuade any public authorities to get things moving? Lewis, I don't know whether to answer that question or not. In Costa Rica, you got to persuade everybody to do anything. Recope has to persuade and give a monetized incentive to show up on time. In Costa Rica, you got to persuade everybody for everything. That's just part of Costa Rica. Now, I know that you're probably like, yeah, but do I have to bribe somebody? No, you don't have to. Might take you 10 times as long. I didn't say that. I'm not saying I did any of that stuff. I am saying that I have heard the nightmares, okay? I have heard the horror stories. However, you know, I put together this team that's going to help us to hopefully do everything legally, legitimately, without having to do all of that stuff, okay? But you have to understand that. And that's something that the new president of Costa Rica is trying to fix. He's like, the country is so corrupt with the bribery, with this, with that, with, you know, so, and if you understand the culture of Costa Rica is like, well, the government is so corrupt, we might as well be corrupt. And so that, hence, that's where you get bribery and you get problems and you get gringo, you know. So anyway, that's just part of it. And part of the things that you need to understand about coming to Costa Rica. Doesn't have to be that way, okay? But it is something that you need to know about, okay? So with that said, let me share the horror story that happened today. Well, maybe it wasn't a horror story. It was the ugly that happened today, okay? So I'm sitting here and I'm doing a little bit of work. I'm editing another video, getting prepared for this live, when I get a phone call, and it's my bank. And I see my phone, I got a notification that $257.31 has been charged on my credit card. Is this a legitimate? We've declined it. So I go and take a look at my card, and unfortunately, while I'm sitting right here in my hotel room, I have a charge on my credit card for like 34 cents. That was a test charge. Hey, it works. Then a few minutes later, I got another charge for $5.47 or something, another test charge for a little bit more. And then all of a sudden they go to Priceline and get a plane ticket for 200 and something, you know, dollars. Okay. And that's when I got a notification from the bank. Okay. Now, this happens a lot in Costa Rica, and it happens a lot more in touristy areas. Okay. Now, I would like to say, and people say, oh, well, that's just because some crooked employee took your credit card number at some store and, you know, he's using it. And while some of that is true, just a couple of months ago, I'm using my Apple Card, which is what I normally use, because my Apple Card, it's a titanium Apple Card, doesn't have any numbers on it, okay? And the whole purpose of that is security. With that Apple Card, you know, they can run it in their machine, but nobody can see the number, so that some low life in Costa Rica doesn't take my credit card number, write it down, you know, all that information, and do what happened today. Okay. Apple Card didn't have a number. Well, I was sitting at the top of the mountain, okay, 2 hours away. And at the exact same time, you know, crooks are stupid. Well, I had two charges from two gas stations. So obviously the two gas stations, which were more than an hour apart from each other, was owned by the same person, and somebody inside that gas station, obviously someone high level, had charged my credit card the exact same amount. It was like $30.60. Gas station over an hour away, $30.60. Gas station down at the bottom of the mountain. And I'm like, that is insane. You know, and at the exact same time, exact same amount, how much more stupid can you get? But let me help you to understand, back to the culture. Costa Ricans believe, and I got this from a good Tico friend. He says, look, Ticos believe that all gringos are stupid. Why is that? I said, well, because we can cheat you and you don't ever say anything. And see, Ticos know that, especially in tourist areas, you're shopping, you're buying, you're having a good time, and you're not looking at your credit card statement, okay? And so that's exactly what whoever owned these gas stations, he's like, I'm going to charge him $30.60 at two different stations. He was smart enough to make it a small amount, yet not a different amount at the exact same time, because guess what? I'm not going to look at my credit card statement and I'll get away with it. Well, of course, I look at everything And so that card is canceled. I'm using this other card. It got canceled today. Thank goodness I have this other card. So my point to this whole, I share the good, the bad, and the ugly. When you come to Costa Rica, how can you try to avoid that? Well, you can't, but what you can do is to make sure that you always have at least 2 or 3 credit cards, so that if that one credit card ends up getting canceled because people are using it, then you have another credit card that you can use. And if at all possible, get you an Apple card, because it doesn't have any numbers on it. Less likely that someone can write your number down and all of your digits and then use it. So that's a pro tip. So if you think that was a great tip, give me some thumbs up and let me know if you thought that was a great tip, okay? And Renee put in a very good comment here and said, building custom homes in Costa Rica is probably still more affordable than anywhere in the United States. And I 100% agree with you on that, because while building costs are going up, you can most definitely build a home in Costa Rica far cheaper than you can anywhere else. Now, I do want to bring up, it's important for you to know that you may, when you get ready to buy building materials, it's so nice to be in the United States, because you just drive up to Home Depot, get exactly what you want, walk around there. I want this, and this. Well, in Costa Rica, it's terribly different. And so it's not like you're going to go down there and get a truckload of OSB so that you can, OSB, if you don't know, is 4x8 sheets of plywood, press board. You're just not going to go and find the same type of materials that you will get in the United States. I would love to just be able to drive up there and say, okay, I need, 50 sheets of OSB because I'm getting ready to roof my tiny house. And I need, I need 55 pallets of shingles. No, it's so hard to find shingles. You can, but it's very difficult. Everything's in metal. Well, everything's in metal, and I really don't want metal. And then there's only 3 flavors of metal. Okay, you want bright blue, you want ugly red, or you want bright orange. Bright green. So you just don't have a lot of selection. So you have to understand that when it comes time to building a house in Costa Rica, there's not a lot of selection. And you might be building with materials that are way foreign and different than what you're used to where you're coming from, okay? But all of these things you can most definitely work around. And if you got the right team, you can still get everything that you need when coming to Costa Rica. So those are just some really fun facts and really important things that you need to know. So let me pause a moment and let me make sure that there's any questions, comments. So you go ahead, give me your questions, give me your comments. Let me know what are you thinking, okay? Tell me, what questions that you have, and tell me what is it you want to learn from this 90-day challenge that I'm embarking on. So give me your input. What is it you want to know about? What other questions you might have? And then let's go into any kind of question you might have about Costa Rica in general. So I'm going to scan some of these questions because it's usually a little lag when you put your comments in there. So I'm going to come through here and let's see. So I'm going to pause for a little bit as I go through here. I'm definitely having a whole lot of fun as we build this thing out. And I think it's going to be fun. There are going to be some aggravating things, but, I try to want to look at, we're going to run into these problems, but what's going to be the best way to fix these problems, okay? So there really is a lot of stuff. Probably the most difficult thing for me is like what Dirk says here. Dirk says, so often for people, they order stuff and get their car. It's that whole mañana thing. It's very difficult. Mañana. And that nearly drove me nuts, okay? So let me know what your thoughts and comments are. So anyway, I'm definitely going to have a whole lot of fun. We're definitely going to learn a whole lot of stuff. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure that you like the video, okay? Like it. Make sure that you put in your comments. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't done so already. Lewis asked a really great question and says, are there any good architects? Yes, matter of fact, I have found an extremely good engineer, architect, found an extremely good builder. This builder, and some of these people you're going to get to meet a little bit later in this 90-day challenge as I interview them and ask them questions. This builder that here is actually from, is it Russia? Anyway, extremely intelligent guy. And man, he is first class. So when he builds stuff, he builds it right. Okay. The engineer, he is a Tico, extremely intelligent. And, watching him as he figures out everything, great. So while I will say that in my opinion, it's kind of hard to find those kind of people, because I have seen, it's important that you get a good builder, because there's a lot of builders that they simply want the money and they're using the cheapest material possible. And you don't know it's cheap material, okay? So they're buying the cheapest material possible, charging you premium price for the material. And look, it's important that you are at the job site or you have a extremely good a builder that you can trust, because if you don't, you are going to get, they're going to build it with the cheapest materials. I'm looking at houses right there in this subdivision that are built with the cheapest materials that are actually dangerous, okay? And they were charged a crazy amount of money. I'm seeing cracks in the house, and the house is only 6 months old, for some of these other houses. So it's extremely important that you have an extremely good builder, someone you can trust. Otherwise, you're going to get conned, because the Tico mentality is, you're a stupid gringo, you got way too much money, and I'm getting a slice of your American pie. And it's just part of it, okay? So it's something that you need to know. Colby says, what are the things to look for when you want to purchase land? How much should we estimate per acre? I wish I could give you that estimate per acre on land, but there, in the United States, you would have a realtor that would say cost and comparison, and they would cost and compare in different areas. And there's no such thing in Costa Rica. So when you're buying land, one of the biggest tips that I could tell you is that you definitely need to be willing to negotiate, okay? I hate that part, but you got to be willing to negotiate, because it's common knowledge that when Ticos are selling land, they're going to always charge 2 to 3 times as much, because they're hoping some gringo is going to make them a millionaire, okay? So you got to be willing to actually say, they're like, I want $1 million. I'll give you 250,000. I'll give you 350,000, and then start working from there. Because that same piece of property they're going to ask you $1 million for, if it was a Tico, they'd probably sell it to him for 100,000. Okay, it's a crazy amount of difference. Okay, and look, I've tested this myself. I saw a piece of property, a small lot, and I asked. I made the call. How much you want for that property? And then I had a Tico friend about 2 days later call, ask for that property, and it was a small piece of property, but it was $1 million colones difference, and at the exchange rate, that was a $2,000 difference, which wasn't a whole lot, but still. And then I confronted the guy. I says, well, how is it that my Tico friend called and you wanted, let's just say 8 million colones, but I called and you wanted 9 million colones? What's the difference? Oh, no, that didn't happen. Yes, it did, and I got proof because I got screenshots. So it does happen all the time, and so I'm not sitting here trying to say, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. I'm trying to educate you to let you know you've got to do your due diligence. When the honeymoon's over, you're going to like, oh, well, Alan, he's a victim. When the honeymoon's over, you're going to say, you know what? Alan was right. So I try to keep it as positive as possible, because I want you to know. I would want to know, okay? I want you to know the reality of it, okay? So when it comes to buying land, the most important thing for you is to make sure, is it where you want it to be? Okay. Because land is for sale everywhere. Okay. So you really just can't estimate a price. You just got to go in there and say, because, hey, I bought a small, tiny piece of property. And when I say tiny piece of property, it was 200 square meters, as small as I could get, because all I needed to do was put my internet tower on it. And I paid $1 million colones for it. That was about $1,800. okay? And it was a tiny little old 200 square meter, and that was as small as the law would allow me to buy, okay? So let me look right here. Lewis says, Minana is my favorite word for the Spanish people. I tell you, Pura Vida is the one that drives me nuts. Pura Vida, Pura Vida, Pura Vida. If you don't know any Spanish, all you need to know is Pura Vida. Because if they're blah, 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 Pura Vida, Pura Vida. Pura Vida, that's the first word I learned. I didn't even know how to go to the bathroom. Pura Vida. Pura Vida. Okay. Dirk says, really looking forward to watch and witness the progress of this build. And he says, for me, I would consider buying a Tico-style house that is furnished and ready to go. And there are lots of those available. Matter of fact, got a super phenomenal, amazingly cheap, I hate to use the word cheap, very, very affordable 5-bedroom house that just came up for sale. A guy I know, and I did put that inside the members area because I always like to give members of the premium members area first chance at anything. But there is a 5-bedroom house right in the San Isidro area, about 10 minutes away from the center. Man, what an amazing deal. 5-bedroom house. It has a view of Mount Cherry-Po. So if you're interested in something like that, and it's not a Tico-style house. It was a Tico woman married to a gringo. It is a concrete kind of prefab type house. But, man, it's amazing to me the price that they want for that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, anyway, I'm just putting a seed there, okay? Ken says, what are the dimensions of the house that you're going to build in the next 90 days? You know what? In reality, I can't answer that question because I really don't know what the dimension is. It's not going to be this super humongous house, but it's not some tiny house either. But I really don't have that information yet. So, as we progress, I'll be able to give out some of that information. Lewis says, Alan, you're giving some real good information. You're totally right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, hey, so that's really about everything that I can think of as far as day one and, what the plans are for this reality TV show. I'm really, really excited about it. And I can't wait to really just give you some progress and let you really be able to learn. So it's going to be just super, super, super important that you, hey, comment, like, all of that good information, because as you comment, then, hey, it also gives you a chance. The more you comment, the more you question, the more you share, like, you could win that vacation destination that we're giving away. So there's a 3-day vacation package of Costa Rica that we're giving away. And all you got to simply do, comment, answer some of those questions, be engaging. And at the end of this build, okay, like I would love to say in 90 days, but at the end of this build, when this house is done, we're going to pick one lucky person or couple to win this 3-day vacation package, to where you can come to Costa Rica. And what do you do to qualify to win? Well, you simply need to comment. You need to like. Of course, you got to subscribe. You share, and you could actually win this vacation package. So, hey, all you got to do is have some happy fingers there, okay? So I'm excited about that. Renee says, is this 90-day construction under Tico time? I'm not going to answer that question, because 90 days in Tico time could be 900 days, right? So anyway, now at this point, if you got some more questions about the build, you let me know. But I always like to say, hey, when I do a live, I like to answer any and all questions that you might possibly have about anything. So we've been live here for right at 1 hour. So since we've been here for 1 hour, I'm going to take a few minutes to answer any other questions that you might have. And look, we still got quite a few people here on the call. It looks like we got around 40 people on the call. And hey, look, make sure that you like. And if you haven't already, subscribe. And I greatly appreciate everybody who donates and who actually, helps me with my apple juice fund, and anything else, because, hey, on YouTube, you don't make a whole lot of money on your channel. I'm excited that we got 10,000 subscribers, but in reality, YouTube pays, for the ads and stuff, under $200 a month. So you actually make money on YouTube when you've got 50,000, 100,000 subscribers and lots of views. Okay. So, hey, your generosity is greatly, greatly appreciated. Okay. So salute. Now, Johan asked, what building style will you use? You know what? I'm not 100% certain. The building style, I think it's going to be pretty contemporary, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Okay. I might be lying to you. Okay. I didn't get all of the details on the house. I really got all of the details on where it was located at in proximity to where I'm at. Is it too far away? Can I handle this much, where I'm going to be staying at and all of that good stuff. So I don't have a whole lot of information on this particular house build other than, doing all of the research, getting the right builders and everything else we need. Okay. Hey, that's a very good question that Bull Shows asked and says, how bad are termites in Costa Rica? Terrible. If you are where it's hot and you're down low, termites are terrible. And that's the reason that the majority of the people build with concrete. Even way back before the concrete prefabbed houses, then the typical old school Tico houses had 1 meter of concrete blocks, and then they would put wood on top of that. And that was just to help with the whole termite problem. Okay. And so, the termite infestation is terrible. You see these humongous termite nests all over the place in trees and stuff. Now, where I live at, I'm up in the mountains. So the further up you get into the mountains, you don't have a problem with termites. And so I'm at about 4,500 feet in elevation, and I have zero problem with termites. Okay. So while termites are a problem, it all depends on where you're at as well. But, that's not going to be a problem. They do have what they call the fumigator, the pest control, and he'll come in and fumigate your house and all of that stuff. So I suppose if you fumigate your house on a regular basis, it won't be a problem. I've never had to do that, but anyway. Hey, thank you so much, Dirk. Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Lewis says the way things are here in the West, it would be great to create a gringo community in Costa Rica. And that's actually what we have. In case you don't know, we do have a gringo community. It's a members only gringo community. Members only, you can go in there. Hey, yeah, it costs 33 cents a day. That's hardly nothing. But, I do that because it keeps the trolls out. I used to have a free version, but I had so many trolls in there. It was a pain in the butt. So 33 cents a day, you can join the members only area, and that's members that get benefits. So anyway, it's a huge blessing if you decide that you want to join. That link is always at the bottom of every video in the description. So anyway, so I'm taking a look here. Any other questions that you want to know about? Okay, so I'm taking a look at some of the questions here. Some of these questions are comical. I just love it. Oh, someone was asking about that picture back there, and that's a beetle. I know probably from your view, well, he did say he was drinking Jim Beam. So that's, if you drink enough Jim Beam, well, Greg, that's probably why that looks like a butterfly. That's really a big old beetle. That's funny. All right. Hey, Dirk brings up a good question. He says, Dirk says termites will carry your house away if you use wood that is not prepared. Hey, termites are not the only ones that will carry your house away, but this is important. If you're one of these people, like the Canadian snowbirds, and you're going to come to Costa Rica for 6 months out of the year and leave for 6 months out of the year, if you don't have a house sitter, the Ticos will carry your house away long before the termites will. I have seen several houses where Ticos, they took them apart piece by piece, starting from the roof down, and in just a matter of months and over a year, the whole house just disappeared. So if you're building and you're planning on leaving 6 months at a time or 3 months at a time, if you leave for 2 stinking weeks, you better have a house sitter if you're not living in like a gated community where you have someone that, guards the shack, going in and out. So you're right. Termites will take it away. But man, they trying to beat the Ticos to it. So, and Colby says, hey, can you share your source of solar panels from a local hardware store? If not, can you ship them in and cost? If you watch my videos, there's a video on the solar panel guy, and I think his information is in the description below. So Colby, go check out that video where the guy came in and installed my solar stuff. Look, I checked all over the place. And while Ticos will take advantage of you, dude, some of these gringos who have created their own solar shops, businesses, they are raping the gringos because they know that a lot of people have money and you don't know any better. And one guy tried to sell me a solar battery for $10,000. I'm like, dude, that battery better be able to walk out of here on its own. $10,000 for a solar battery? Anyway, blew me away. So you've got to be careful and you've got to do your due diligence when buying things in Costa Rica. And so it's not just the Ticos that's going to rip you off, but other gringos will rip you off because they know you're coming here and you don't know any better. So just be careful with that. So anyway, Colby, go check out that video on the channel where we have the guy coming in and installing the solar panels, on my off-grid homestead, and you'll be able to get the information there. If not, reach out to me and I can certainly give you a hand. Now, Bull Show says, is treated lumber available in Costa Rica? And yes, it is. You will pay a serious premium, but it is available. And the one guy that I know that where I've been getting treated wood at in San Isidro, he's always out. It's selling, I don't know that it's selling so fast or that he just doesn't buy enough of it, but there's been a lot of times bought this treated material from him and it's still wet. So I buy this stuff and got to let it dry before I can actually use it. So yeah, you can most definitely get treated lumber here. It is expensive, but dude, I would not build without it if you're in an area where there are termites, okay? So yeah, something you definitely, good question. All right. Okay. What else do you want to know? And are there any pressing questions? I'm really glad that you were able to join me on this live today. And so be looking forward to more lives, okay? Now, if you haven't already subscribed to my newsletter, it would be very, very important for you to subscribe to my newsletter. The link is at the bottom of every single video. Go into the description, subscribe to the newsletter. You're going to get some really fun emails, but I promise you, you'll never, ever get spam. The only time you get an email from me is letting you know about, a live event, letting you know about the next video. It's only about the stuff you want to know in Costa Rica. There's a lot of times something urgent is happening. I don't have the time to do a good video on it, but I can send you an email and say, hey, they just changed the rules about this. They changed the rules about that. So if you subscribe to my newsletter, you'll be able to get information from me, and you'll also be able to, the emails that you come, if you want to email me directly, you can reply to any of those emails, and you have my personal email to where, there's a lot of times you might want to ask a personal question, and if you want to ask a personal question like, hey, Alan, I'm coming to Costa Rica, and if you're available, I'd love to take you out for dinner and some apple juice. Hey, hit me up. You might be this good-looking, drop-dead gorgeous woman out there, and you're like, hey, I want to take you out. Hit me up. Okay. Hey, anyway, I'm just having a little fun here, and I hope you are too. But I'm really glad that you're here on the channel, and you're having a great, great time. Really appreciate you joining me for this live event. I'm looking forward to actually sharing a lot of great stuff for you here in the near future, and a lot more stuff as we continue to enjoy this 90-day challenge. So, hey, only a few more minutes. We've been here an hour and 10 minutes. Any other questions before we call it a day? If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like button, okay, and subscribe. Lewis says, do ambulance. Hey, and thank you, Johan. Johan, thank you so much for your donation. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Lewis says, do ambulance or first responders get to their destination quick in case of need? Lewis, that is a really great question. And the answer to that is it depends on where you live. Quick short story on that. Where I live at, of course, it's very, very, very remote. Takes 2 hours just to get up the mountain. But the poor guy that owned that property up there, or still owns that property, had a heart attack. The ambulances came up there. This is funny. This is funny. You got to write this down. Ambulance came up there, and at the time, they could not drive all the way into the entrance. Had to hike in 1 mile, okay, 1 mile, to go check on the guy. So he has a heart attack. Someone calls 911. They come up there. They finally get to the top of the mountain. They hike in, and when they get there, they didn't bring a stretcher. They didn't bring anything. And the guy with the heart attack, they didn't carry him out. He had to walk out in an ambulance, okay, to the ambulance. Gets in the ambulance. Now, look, if that wasn't bad enough, the guy should have died. As they were going into town, they pull off the road to get lunch. No way! You got a guy who's had a heart attack in the back of your ambulance, and you decide that you're hungry, and you're going to pull over to get lunch? Where do you live? Oh, I live in Costa Rica. True story. You cannot make this stuff up, okay? So you just need to know that. Great question. Are there building materials you need but couldn't get in Costa Rica? Yeah, there are some things, kind of like insulation, but you really don't need insulation. And there are other forms of insulation too. So there are some things that I really couldn't find. At Home Depot, you can really get some really great screws with Torx heads on it. Costa Rica is behind by several years. So it's difficult to get some of those kind of building materials. Very, very difficult to get quality tools, okay? So, yeah, it is difficult to get some kind of building materials. Johan says, the building style I meant, is it going to be cinder blocks versus steel frame, lumber? What will the budget be? I'm not real sure what the budget's going to be, but I think that the building style or what the material is going to be is we're going to start out with some metal framing, which is what really makes sense because of the earthquake zone that we are in, okay? So I hope that answers your question, Johan. We're going to be using metal framing, and I'm not sure what the outside is going to be. A lot of glass, okay? Winston says, any long-term consequences from eating that hot chip? What'd you say? No. Thank goodness there wasn't any long-term consequences from that hot chip. But I can tell you what, I was tasting it and feeling it coming and going for just a little while. But it wasn't too terribly bad. You could type in the chat box, TMI. Too much information, Alan. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun, though. So anyway. And look, Lewis puts out a point. He says, most of the time, the ambulance and first responders can't even find the address. And, that's an important thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Lewis, because in Costa Rica, they don't have regular 911 addresses or addresses like you might be used to in the United States. It's not like go down to, 333 Western Bell Boulevard, okay? In Costa Rica, no lie, the address to, certain places was like, okay, it's 100 meters north of the post office on the left-hand side next to the big mango tree where the dog is tied, okay? That's the address. Well, guess what? What happens when the post office moves? And that's what happened in Buenos Aires. The post office moved. Well, your address ain't no good if the post office moves, because now you better move 100 meters away from the post office to where it's located at now. Costa Rica's address system is hilarious. So that's just something you need to know about, okay? I'm telling you, it's hilarious because, you order a pizza or you order some takeout. And so you got this guy on this motorcycle. And there's no regular address system. So he's driving down the road in your neighborhood going beep, 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 hoping you're going to walk out to the road so you can pick up your food. It's just part of life in Costa Rica, okay? And Johan, I have no idea what the price is for steel framing per square feet. No idea. But as we buy these materials, we'll be sharing a lot of these costs so that you'll have an idea. And we're going to, you saw in the video that we ordered a concrete tank. And you need to know that's not typical for Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, it is very, very typical to put in a plastic septic tank. Matter of fact, it's very typical to put in a septic tank that is about 500 liters. Well, it's about twice the size of a 55-gallon drum. Very, very small. And hence the reason wherever you go in Costa Rica, if you go in the bathroom, there's a sign that says don't flush anything down the toilet, even the toilet paper. So they got this nasty toilet trash can where you're supposed to put your used toilet paper in the trash can. That's a stinky situation. Yuck. So to avoid that, and that's simply because they put in the smallest septic tank that they can buy. Okay. So, we will be talking about, well, what kind of septic tank should you put in? Should you put in plastic? Should it be concrete? What size should it be? What's going to be the best location? Lots of great information that you're going to learn by watching this whole 90-day series, okay? By watching this reality TV show, you're definitely just going to have a whole lot of fun. And I'm really excited to share all of this stuff with you, okay? Hey, Johan asked a really great question. What about thoughts on owner finance properties? While those do exist, they're few and far between. And you do got to be very, very careful on that because you could lose at any moment. You could lose out. So you want to be careful on that. But they do exist. It's just very, very few and far between on that, okay? It's almost just one of those things that are non-existent, okay? And that is because the majority of the Ticos are very, very poor, and they can't afford to own or finance, okay? And so there's just not that many rich Ticos that are willing to do that. Doug brought up a very good point. And he says, yeah, Costa Rica is crazy with the small, useless septics, and the plumbing wouldn't pass any country codes. Very few even use a trap in their plumbing. I'm glad you brought that up. So, that's one of the problems. If you buy a pre-existing or a typical Tico house, I've yet to see a single trap in any of them. And so, I've rented a bunch of houses in Costa Rica, and in almost every house, I end up putting a trap, in the kitchen sink, the bathroom sink, because otherwise you just have this nasty odor that comes out if you don't have a trap. So none of the houses, I've yet to find a single house that had a trap in it. Now, when I say I haven't, obviously I haven't, but you go to San Jose, I'm sure in the city, I don't want to live in the city. I'm sure that in the city, you find people that do build some really nice places and up to code and maybe got traps. I'm just telling you, my perspective, from my experience, I have yet to find a house with a trap in it, okay? I'm glad you brought that up, Doug, because that is a very valid point, okay? All right. Hey, I want to thank you all. I think that's it. I think we ought to call it a day. We've been here for, an hour and 20 minutes. Greatly appreciate it. If you got any last-minute pressing questions, please put it in there. And Johan says, do you really need permits to build on your own land? Yes, you definitely do have to have some permits on your own land. And I will say that there's a lot of people that don't get any permits. I would not suggest that you do that because it will cost you a lot of money if they find out you don't have permits, and then you come back and you get this crazy fine, okay? And really, look, while those permits are a headache, it's not that expensive. Better just to go ahead and do it, okay? All right. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate all of you. I hope you've enjoyed this live. If you've enjoyed this live, give me some thumbs up right now. Put it in the chat box. Give me a thumbs up. Put in there, hey, I know what. Put in there between 1 and 10. 1, you didn't like it. It was boring. 10, you loved it. Okay, so put in a chat in the chat box and let me know, how did you enjoy today's live? Let me know, are you excited for this 90-day challenge? Because, man, I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to share everything that we're going to learn and discover on this next 90-day challenge as we learn everything we need to know about building a house in Costa Rica. Salute. Greatly appreciate all of you. Nikki is ready for me to take her for a walk. You ready? Come on, girl. Yeah. Look, there's Nikki. Tell everybody hi. You want to tell everybody hi? Woo! Yeah. Say hi, Nikki. Come on. Come here, girl. Come here, Nikki. Look. Come here, Nikki. Where you at? Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Yeah, look at Nikki. Yeah, there's Nikki. Yeah.